Hello, AP Human Geography class. Welcome to your first, second flipped video. We're going to see a little less of me, a little more information. All right, I know you're excited. I am. I think you can tell that. All right, just want to remind you about a couple things before we begin. Number one, make sure you have the sound on. If you can hear the sound of my voice, you have completed step number one. Congratulations. Step number two, make sure you're taking notes. In this particular video, they are in red, so put them in your organizer for future reference, whatever color it is. Just fill in the blanks that I have not given you in your note organizer. Number three, remember this is learning on demand. I may talk too fast for you. I'm sorry. But pause the video. You can rewind me and then fill in the notes and listen to what I'm saying. Number four, all right, if you can add more examples to what I'm giving you in the video or that I'm telling you auditorily, by all means, all right? AP Human Geography, the more examples you know, the better you will do on the AP exam and in the class. Last but not least, just another reminder. You cannot just watch the videos and be successful in my class or do well on the AP exam. You can't do it, all right? When you show up to class, you do the work in class, you read the textbook that I've given you, and you watch the videos to reinforce some of the concepts. They're not all going to be in these videos. It's impossible. Can't do it, all right? It's too much time. But all of these three things put together, you will have great success. All right? All right, let's get to it. All right, I'm off my soapbox. All right, a lot of people ask me, obviously because I'm teaching in this class, what is human geography? And I tell them, well, there's two ways I can tell you what human geography is, all right? It focuses on where human activities are and why they are located there. So, for example, Whippany, right? We can agree that humans are located there. Okay, good, we agree. Now, why are people located there? Why? What was that? Whippany River? Oh, the Whippany River, a great resource for people to live off of. Yes, that might be why people are located in Whippany, all right? There could be other reasons. That's just one example, all right? So remember those two questions. I'm going to add more questions later on, all right, in class. Let's keep going. So let's answer one of these questions a little more specifically. Why are people located where they are? Well, where they're located, it's a place. It's a specific point on Earth. So, for example, Whippany, New Jersey, that's a specific place. New York, Boston, these are specific places, all right? You get bigger than, let's say, a state. Now we're looking at regions, all right? And what I have here is the East Coast is a great example. Now what a region is, it's an area on Earth, could be anywhere. I just use the East Coast because that's where we live. That's distinguished by cultural and physical features, all right? So if you especially think of the tri-state area, another region, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, right? We probably share a lot of the same cultural and physical features because we're so close together. Any more examples you can think of? Super, put them down. Let's keep going. All right, globalization. We talk a lot about globalization in human geography. All right, well, how does it play a role in human geography? Well, there's two ways. Now, before I get into these two ways, globalization, right? That's the interconnectedness of, let's say, the world, right? If oil shortages in one place affect oil prices in another, or if a military riot in one country might affect the budgets of other countries for military use. I don't know, giving you more examples, all right? But there are two vocabulary words we need to know that go with globalization and human geography. Number one is space. This is literally the physical gap between two places, like where the United States is located and where China is located, those two countries. Then we have connections. And this is the relationship between people, even countries, let's say, across space. So what's the relationship between the United States and China? Well, you know, American businesses, let's say, are stationed in China where manufacturing labor are a little cheaper, and then they send their products over to the United States. That's connection. Well, in our society today, almost everything is connected, all right? And reason being is because these connections in space, well, they've been minimized by technology. It's much easier to work with people, let's say, outside a different country and far away. We have more of a connection and less of a physical gap between them. All right, good. Keep going. All right, so how do geographers describe where things are? Yes, maps. Okay, I'm giving it to you. Maps. If you look here, you see three different types of map projections. We're going to talk extensively about map projections in class, but there's a huge problem with maps that we have to talk about, and it's distortion. Not one map is perfect, none of them. If you look at the two maps I've given you here, the very top, let's start with shape. And if you look at Africa at the top and Africa at the bottom, you can notice that the one on the top is a little bit bigger and elongated, whereas the one on the bottom is a little more squished, okay? That's one example of shape. So let's go to another distortion, distance. So the distance between, let's say, South America and Africa could be, let's say, 100 miles off from the bottom map to the top map. All right, another problem, relative size. So now if you look at the overall size, let's say the United States, well, At the top one, it looks like it's squished and much smaller than versus the bottom one. Even Europe and Asia on the top map look much more squished and elongated than, let's say, Asia and Europe at the bottom. And last but not least, we have a distortion of direction. Now, for the most part, both these maps do a good job at keeping direction north, south, east, west. Is it off a little bit? Maybe. But for the most part, they keep good direction. All right? Remember these 4 distortion problems with maps. All right, so why is each point on Earth unique? I'm going to go through these 4. I gave it to you on your note organizer. Let's get to it. Let's first talk about what a toponym is. Why is this unique? Well, it's a name given to a place, right? So, famous places around the world. I don't know, New York, Boston, Stuttgart. Probably not familiar to you. That's in Germany. Rome, Paris, all right, etc. Whippany, that's another toponym. It's a fancy way for saying a name for a place. All right, keep going. Mathematical location. Well, there's 2 ways to describe where a place is through mathematics, if you will. And we're using latitude and longitude. Now, latitude, also known as parallels, these are the circular lines that are parallel to the infamous latitude line, the equator, which is at 0 degrees. We also have longitude lines, which run north and south, which are known as meridians, and the famous one is prime meridian that runs through Greenwich, England at 0 degrees, all right? And then we'll talk more about how to divide degrees into 60s, all right, to get even more specific location in class. All right, wow. Cultural landscape and types of regions. Whew. What is a cultural landscape? It's cultural, economic, and physical features of a place. Okay, yeah, we're talking about regions. That's why I put these together. So let's go into regions. What's a formal region, all right? These are also known as uniform and homogeneous regions. Yes, you need to know all these different types of ways because we will be discussing it in class, and it could show up on your AP exam. All right, so a formal region is where everyone shares one or more distinctive characteristics. Now, I gave you a curveball with the Rocky Mountains. So maybe people living near the Rocky Mountains, I don't know, might like to hike. That's a generalization, all right? So I don't know. They might use the river, let's say, for the water supply. That could also be a generalization. I don't know. But I'm saying that somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, I'm sure we can label that people have one or more distinctive traits, just like we can in the tri-state area. Now, we have the next region called a functional region or nodal region, like a node, a central point. You can think of any major city across the earth. I use Moscow. You can use New York. You can use Paris. You can use Rome, right? These central places have been built, and then there's regions around them that kind of focus on the center of, let's say, Moscow or Rome, all right? Last but not least, we have something called a vernacular region or perceptual region. And what this is, it's actually a believed, sense of place. And now hear me out here, the South. The South is not a real place. We've labeled it in our everyday speech as the red states highlighted in the picture here. Now, the South is not really a real region, all right? Same with the Middle East. We've also labeled that. It's not technically a real region. That's just what we have labeled all these countries together, all right? Keep going. Physical and ecological makeups can describe where a place is as well and what makes it unique. So climates, tropical, subtropical, polar, all right, subpolar. Oh my God, there's so many. Keep going now. Biomes, grassland, desert, landforms, mountains, valleys, etc. Even soil, we can label places by soil. There's so many different kinds of soil. And these are just some of the ways we can do it, all right? This is what makes places unique. Okay, whew, I'm sorry I talked really fast. I was very excited. All right, if you needed to, please go back. Please rewind the video, okay? Try and write some of those other examples I said auditorily. And again, we will talk much more about these things in class. All right, hey, see you then.